Hey, how's it going? In today's video, we're talking about Himawari. More specifically, how was it possible for her to become the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails? I find this topic very fascinating, and we're going to be examining various sources from both the Naruto and Boruto series to unravel the answer. This video will contain spoilers for Boruto 2 Vortex. You have been warned. With that being said, let's get started. One of the first things we need to understand is the official definition of chakra as defined by characters in the Naruto franchise. This is going to lay a foundation for how Himawari's situation is even possible. Let's take it back all the way to the beginning of Naruto Part 1, specifically Chapter 17 of the original manga. This was around the time Kakashi was teaching Team 7 how to climb trees using their chakra. The purpose of this training was to give Team 7 the opportunity to gain better chakra control before they were to encounter Zabuza for a second time in the series. Sakura, or rather by extension Kishimoto, gave a brief explanation on what chakra is in its most basic principle. Chakra, simply put, is energy, more specifically the physical and mental energies inside of an individual that when combined together allowed them to perform ninjutsu. Kakashi doubled down on Sakura's explanation. Depending on the technique the user desires to employ, the amount of chakra that is consumed will vary. And without proper chakra control, even the most powerful techniques cannot be utilized to their fullest capability. To further paint the picture that chakra is simply energy, let's look at another scenario where Naruto was first learning how to use senjutsu in chapters 409 and 410 of the original manga. Naruto was given an explanation by the elder toad Fukasaku on what senjutsu was. In contrast to ninjutsu, which requires physical and mental energies from the user, senjutsu is energy that is derived from nature itself. Natural energy is the third variable added to the user's other energies, and only when balanced properly can an individual ever use senjutsu. In Naruto chapter 670, Hagoromo explains the origins of Kaguya Otsutsuki to Naruto. Naruto learns not only of the origins of the Sage of Six Paths, he also learns about Ninshu, which is the origins of what Shinobi would later define as ninjutsu. Naruto also learns of how Hagoromo became the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails. Hagoromo and Hamura wanted to right the wrongs of their corrupted mother, Kaguya, by defeating the Ten Tails and saving the world. Hagoromo would then go on to seal the Ten Tails inside of himself. In Naruto chapter 680, however, we learn from Black Zetsu that the Ten Tails was actually an incarnation of Kaguya, who simply wanted to reclaim the power divided amongst Hagoromo and Hamura. Kaguya had achieved what Code and many other antagonists have aimed for in the Boruto series. She ate the chakra fruit of the divine tree, and that is what caused her to become one with the Shinju itself. Hagoromo, prior to his death, would go along into splitting the Ten Tails inside of him into 9 separate Biju. In his own words, he partitioned the Ten Tails, or rather Kaguya's chakra, in the hopes that the Biju would go out into the world and bring collaboration among the nations. While it did take an extremely long period of time, it ended up working to some degree much later in history. Hagoromo used the creation of all things technique to create and form each of the tailed beasts. Each tailed beast will go on to have their own sentience and unique personalities. To put it simple, the Biju are large manifestations of chakra that were given individuality and freedom, which isn't too far off from what the Shinju are currently in Boruto 2 Vortex. The only difference is that the Shinju rely on the chakra from human victims, in contrast to human Jinchuriki who can rely on the Biju's chakra as a source for additional power. Putting aside the social drawbacks of being a Jinchuriki, when an individual becomes the host of a tailed beast, they gain a massive amount of chakra in addition to their own chakra. Teen Naruto, despite having a large amount of chakra already, at least 4 times greater than the average shinobi, practically had an additional 100 times the amount of chakra thanks to having only 1/2 of Kurama for a decent portion of his life. Naruto's fights with Neji and Pain summed this up perfectly, as in both instances, Naruto could not rely on his own power to overwhelm his opponents. Neji blocked his entire chakra network during the Chunin exams, and Pain had trapped Naruto when he lost his second instance of Sage Mode. Kurama's chakra is what came through and gave Naruto the competitive edge to come back from each of those fights. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to do such a thing. Naruto and Kurama are both very unusual cases when it comes to being both a Biju and Jinchuriki respectively. Naruto for a time became the Jinchuriki of all 9 Biju and obtained 6 Paths Chakra from Hagoromo. He essentially obtained the perks of being a 10-tails Jinchuriki, but with Kurama as the basis for power and minus the ocular jutsu. Naruto is also the second known male Jinchuriki to have ever had children, the first being Yagura, the 4th Mizukage, since his grandchild appeared in the Boruto anime. However, unlike Yagura, Naruto had children while holding a far more powerful Biju inside of him, because at this point, Naruto had both halves of Kurama inside of him. Kurama's death was also brought upon in a very unusual way. He didn't die in direct combat, and he also wasn't killed alongside his Jinchuriki either. He simply faded away due to a scientific method that he used as a last resort to kill a nearly unbeatable opponent at the time. Kurama's explanation of Baryon mode comes from chapter 52 of Boruto Part 1. Kurama explained to Naruto that he had a last resort method of fighting back against Ishiki, who at this point was mopping the floor with 6 Path Sage Mode Naruto and Rinnegan Sasuke. Naruto was confused by the idea of Baryon mode, not understanding at the time how it was different from Biju mode or 6 Path Sage mode, forms that he unlocked during the 4th Great Shinobi War. Kurama says it's an entirely different thing altogether, as both of these forms required just Naruto taking chakra from Kurama and some of the other tailed beasts respectively, while Baryon mode took both Kurama and Naruto's chakra to form an entirely new form of energy. So long as there was chakra coming from either Kurama or Naruto, that's what kept Baryon mode active. Looking back at the manga, Kurama used a very interesting phrase when talking about his strategy of taking down Ishiki. Kurama knew Baryon mode would end up taking his life because of the chakra cost, but he also referenced something that falls in line with Hagoromo's teachings of Ninshu. Through chakra, everyone is connected, and as Naruto was coming into contact with Ishiki, the same downside of his lifespan being depleted was reflected onto Ishiki as well. What we as fans didn't know at the time is that this explanation that Kurama gave on his and Ishiki's downfall also indirectly foreshadowed Kurama's eventual return, which I will elaborate on further in this video. When Momoshiki first observed Boruto, he made a statement to Naruto that it was a pity that despite having an immense amount of power, he had no realistic way of passing it down to the next generation. If you watch my other recent theory video, which I'll leave in a link in the description, you'll know that Momoshiki's view of the future is limited, as we uncovered he can only interpret the future through his own understanding. And we also learned that the future isn't written in stone, and that the future can diverge into something completely different given that specific circumstances are met. We also have to keep in mind, when Momoshiki mocked Naruto, he was directly referring to Boruto, not Naruto's other child, Himawari. Kurama's chakra dissipated from Naruto's body. Since Kurama wasn't extracted from Naruto like what Madara did to him during the 4th Great Shinobi War, Naruto was given the opportunity to live. The anime foreshadowed Himawari becoming the next Jinchuriki heavily, as she was often shown being associated with the tailed beast in some shape or form. Let's first talk about the day Naruto became Hokage. Himawari was shown to have a hidden potential and was able to strike not only Naruto but Kurama as well. She matched a power that would soon become hers in the future without ever knowing that. There's also the Parent and Child Day mini arc in the anime and the novel version. Himawari wanted a Kurama doll, and after many shenanigans she ended up getting a Shukaku one instead. Naruto, being an overworked Hokage and tired at the time, asked Kurama to lend him some chakra, only for Kurama to foreshadow the future. He told Naruto that he's her father and he needs to go the extra mile for his daughter without his help. Himawari also paralleled Kid Naruto, as Shukaku was the first Biju they both ever encountered physically. And just like Teen Naruto did in Shippuden, Himawari willingly befriended a tailed beast, as Naruto did the same thing for Son Goku and Gyuki at the time. The anime was telling us point blank that this was always Himawari's destiny. Even the manga foreshadowed this happening. Looking back at chapter 64 of Boruto Part 1, Kishimoto had teased Himawari becoming the new Jinchuriki this early on in the story, and it went over everyone's heads. It was specifically the scene where Naruto had finally entered Sage Mode, since it takes much longer for him to gather nature energy without Kurama's assistance. Naruto was getting ready for his first battle in a couple of decades without Kurama being by his side. It was Himawari of all people that reached out to her father and asked if he could bring Boruto and Kawaki back to safety. Even she knew Kurama was no longer with him at this point and worried. Naruto then says that of course he'll bring them back. After all, he's Naruto. Naruto in this chapter also foreshadowed Himawari's future being a reflection of his own childhood, as Naruto expressed his fear of Himawari not having parents around while she grew up, which is why he wanted Hinata to stay behind in case something happened to him. Himawari was being set up to walk down the same footsteps as Naruto the entire time. Also, as a side note, Naruto in Sage Mode should have been able to sense Kurama inside of Himawari, similar to how he tried to use Sage Mode to measure the energy of the Ten Tails during the 4th Great Shinobi War. So this may have been a point where Kurama didn't manifest fully inside of her yet. It will be a nice moment in Two Blue Vortex once Naruto is freed from his imprisonment that he gets a moment with Himawari and then she tells him that Kurama says hello. So how and why was Kurama able to manifest inside of Himawari? And why didn't he just randomly spawn somewhere else on Earth? I'll answer the question with another question. What do Naruto, Boruto, and Himawari all have in common? They are all children of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and they all have whiskers as a result of that. Each of them, whether they realized it or not, had their genetics altered by the Nine-Tails Chakra, and there's proof of this through two other characters. The Gold and Silver brothers Kinkaku and Ginkaku. Kurama explained during the 4th Great Shinobi War that the two Cloud Ninja challenged him to a fight decades ago and Kurama simply ate them out of spite. Instead of dying, however, they started devouring chakra from within Kurama's body, and essentially they became pseudo-Jinchuriki. Kurama's chakra altered their genetics just like it did to Naruto, Himawari, and Boruto, and this was indicated because they both have the same whiskers as those three characters. Kurama's chakra resided in them even after being revived as reincarnations by Kabuto. Their Nine-Tails chakra was even utilized by Obito as a last resort to quickly revive the Ten Tails. So I wanted to use a real-life quote to explain how Kurama is still alive. Albert Einstein once said that energy cannot be created or destroyed, and his point of view is what scientists hold on to this day. Energy does not simply disappear. It goes from one form to another, a concept called the conservation of energy. For instance, a car engine burns gasoline, converting chemical energy into mechanical energy that the car uses to operate. Another example would be how a battery converts chemical energy into electrical energy to power a flashlight. A nuclear bomb converts nuclear energy into thermal or electromagnetic or kinetic energy. The conservation of energy is the best example of explaining how Kurama is back, because we already established that Kurama is chakra and Kurama is also an energetic being. Both Naruto and Kurama explained this in Boruto Part 1. Naruto had explained to Kawaki that chakra binds everyone together because of Ninshu. Himawari's chakra and genetics were altered by Kurama, and as a result, he was able to manifest inside of her once the reincarnation process was completed. Himawari is the only being on the planet who has chakra relative to Kurama, so it makes perfect sense why he was able to manifest inside of her. Like energy attracts like energy. This is how they were connected without anyone going through the process of sealing Kurama inside of her. So you're probably asking, if Himawari obtained Kurama because of the like energy attracting the like energy, shouldn't Boruto also have the capability of reviving Kurama as well? I'd say yes. However, his body has been altered so much by Momoshiki. Boruto may have his original human appearance and his mind is intact, but genetically speaking, his body was overridden by Momoshiki's DNA. If there was any trace of Kurama's chakra, it's definitely gone by now. So Himawari was the only place Kurama could truly reside in. In Chapter 77 of Boruto Part 1, we saw the first instance of Damon using one of his abilities to sense the power inside of an individual. It was teased when he was fighting Limitless Cold, but this is the first time we actually got to see it. To our knowledge, Damon is one of the strongest, if not the strongest character in the franchise right now. So if he's reacting to something, you know it's a big deal. Damon this early on in the timeline sensed Kurama inside of Himawari, and ironically enough, this is also the same chapter in which Naruto was sealed away by Kawaki. Again, Kishimoto was showing his intentions of passing down Kurama to the next generation. So why would Himawari obtaining Kurama be such a huge deal? Naruto, until he went into Baryon mode, couldn't stand up to Ishiki and barely put up a fight against Jigen with Sasuke's help. There are several characters now in Two Blue Vortex who are on Ishiki's level or borderline close to it, that being Cold, Boruto, Damon, and the Shinju. The reason why it's a huge deal is strictly because of her lineage. She is a Hyuga, and it's clear as day she is a Byakugan prodigy, as Hinata's chakra and the Byakugan was altered by Hamura in the last Naruto the movie, and obviously this was passed down to her daughter. She also has gotten a piece of Hagoromo's chakra from Naruto as well, meaning she does have access to some Six Paths chakra as well, or at least the potential to match that type of power. In a way, she has achieved what Kaguya couldn't by indirectly gathering pieces of Kaguya's chakra together. And then you put that together with the full power of Kurama, then Himawari is one of the most dangerous characters in this franchise.